Customizer here. So this video, number, what are we on? 4 in the series of the 10 video challenge. I want to talk about my short-term rental side business, side hustle. Most people just refer to it as the Airbnb business. So where I live, because of a lot of the coziness between past city council members and hotel and motel owners, combined with complaints of some housing developments where overcrowding with cars has been an issue with rentals, it technically is against the law to do short-term rentals in my city. You're not going to go to jail for it. You're going to get fined if they know about it. Even with that, if you look up on some of the demographic sites, Airbnb, there's about 1,000 units available for short-term rent in this area. And you get into the outskirts unincorporated county area, and they put up a new law that last summer that if you're going to have a short-term rental, you've got to live on the land that's part of that. I.e., you build a mother-in-law unit that you rent out, because there was several developments going in where they were being built specifically for short-term investors to rent them as short-term units, and some people were complaining about that, especially since we had a lot of Californians buying these up to use for short-term rentals. And part of the argument with it, and I'm not here to debate it, is this county does not have enough regular long-term rentals that are in a decent price range. They just isn't. And I'll show you evidence of that later. So anyway, some of the things that I've been doing is, as I told you, I had picked up a trailer, did a deal to get a second trailer within a very short amount of time. So the Jayco trailer is the first one I bought, and then shortly, in fact, when I was making the deal, I put together a deal for that Gray Wolf. That Rogue is someone who's there. It's an overnighter, so everything. But I got into I picked up, officially owned the Gray Wolf about 3 months after I had the Jayco. And then this fifth wheel here, the Prowler, I picked that up, 2.5 years ago, when my daughter was getting married. I'll talk more about that in a bit. Now I've got people that are staying there long term that are doing a lease option to own. They'll own it by May. And part of the reason why my friend was able to talk me into doing this is he owns an RV park. Now, most RV parks have a percentage that they rent out monthly, month-to-month contracts, and long-term people will live there. And all people that live there for years in a tow-behind or fifth-wheel trailer. Not everybody's cup of tea, but hey, in the economy today, it's a cheap way to get housing. But the rental agreements with most of these parks is sub-renting, and doing short-term rentals is just absolutely forbidden. So in this park, the only people who are allowed to do it is myself and one of the owner's kids has a unit. And whether the people in the park care or not, thankfully I don't have to hear about it because I don't own the park. But the plus side to it is the park is already zoned for short-term rentals. See, the way that the city did the laws around the code around short-term rentals is you're allowed to rent your unit you have as long as you do 30 days or longer. So the short terms are what will get you fined unless you're zoned for short-term rental, which the RV park is. So I'm complying with all of the city codes. It gets rid of that headache altogether. The downside is it is a tow-behind trailer, which is not built as strong as would be a standard apartment or condo style unit. So there's a lot more repairs that go involved, but the plus side is, and you're absolutely losing value daily on these things. But they're not that pricey to get into, and if the thing gets bad enough, you just throw it away and get a new one. Honestly, that's what my future plan is with it. With at least one of these units. So as I was investigating getting into this, being in IT, I wanted to see how I could maximize profitability while using a lot of automation. So I found a system, I can't remember what it was originally called. It got bought out and is now known as Guestly for Hosts. Guestly for Hosts handles all my reservations. So when I set up the trailers, I set them up under under Airbnb. Then I import that Airbnb information into Guestly for Hosts, and from there I can connect it to Booking.com and other rental sites. And whenever a reservation happens on one site, it automatically goes onto the other site. So there's no. I've only ever had one date conflict, and that was with the previous owners of the unit of the automation system. It really hasn't been a problem. You can also connect into VBRO and Travelocity. I've never got Travelocity to work right. I've tried a handful of times. It's been over a year since I tried. VRBO I used to be listed on, but their syncing system, they'd upgraded it and it just was not stable. And I kept getting dual overriding bookings on VRBO because they weren't importing my reservations that were being made on the other systems. And I had to cancel, I think over a few months, 3 reservations. And after the third one, they said that they were going to start charging me for the canceled reservation, or a portion of that. So after that, I dropped them. It wasn't worth the time I was putting into it versus the handful of reservations I was getting. And so right now, I'm only listed on Airbnb and Booking, but I'm usually booked solid with those two. And be honest, the majority of my reservations come through Booking.com. Now, both Airbnb and Booking have other sites that they've expanded their listings with. So with Booking.com, you also get Expedia and then several other smaller sites, and it just lists it all on there, and I don't have to do a thing for it. When I get a reservations through their systems, I have my fees listed, and then they tack on a little bit for them. Airbnb just pays me out my portion. Booking, they pay me the whole thing out, and then like a day or two later come back and pull back their portion, which they're European, so they've got a different approach. I don't care for that, but whatever, you just deal with it. But also with the Guestly system, I've got it set up so that as soon as someone makes a reservation, they get an automated message thanking them for the reservation, telling them a little bit about it. There's a site called BabyQuip, which is kind of like Airbnb for baby toys and cribs and stuff, so that if someone has young children, they can reserve a crib or something through them and it'll be delivered to the door of the trailer. I've got it listed there with it. I don't think anybody's ever done it. Again, you're in an RV trailer, so it's a fairly confined area. I imagine they get a lot more. I mean, the business is doing, from what I understand, they're doing well, but I imagine they get a lot more demand for their services on a standard hotel room. But I've got it there and available. It doesn't cost me anything, and if anybody does reserve anything, I get a little bit of a kickback on it. But then the day before the reservation, they get an automated message. We're excited to see you here, and gives them a link to a website with a password to get into that website, one for each trailer, where I've got turn-by-turn directions from the main highway to the front door of the units with pictures, making it as obvious as possible. And then I've put electronic locks on the doors of my trailers. Now you can get these really cool electronic locks for apartments and condos, which will tie directly in with Airbnb and other systems, and will give a new security code every time automatically. They haven't built those for trailers yet, so I have to update the codes every so often to make sure people are still safe. What hasn't been an issue, but I still am very conscious with that. So I have the code listed on this website, and other information about running the trailers, because trailers are, the heaters are a little different. It takes people 10 seconds to figure it out, but I have all that laid out on those websites to make it very simple for people coming in. Then I have another automated message that if they're staying more than one day, on the second day they're there about noon, that kicks out, thanks for coming, we're glad to have you. If you have any issues, please get a hold of me. And that was actually recommended through, I believe, Booking.com. Because one of the big metrics that helps with your listings is guest reviews, and it increases the chance you get a review and what that review number is going to be. And then the day after they check out, I have another automation that goes out, thanks them for their stay, and asks them to do a review. Ironically enough, my nicest trailer doesn't have the best reviews, because shortly after I got into it, it turns out the toilet was faulty and was collecting fluid in a back area inside the toilet itself. Again, this is an RV trailer, not a normal type unit. And it was during the summer. Around here, summers get up to 115. It's very strong odor. And once I realized what was going on, I finally just threw the toilet away and bought a new one and put one in there. But that hurt my reviews. And then I just keep having weird little things like that happen. So tend to have that being rated around 8 to 9 out of 10. My other trailer that's a little bit older, the 2017, I'm usually 9 to 10, and it's a trailer, but I'm also very upfront with what the trailers are. I have pictures of the whole thing, and because they are trailers, I'm listing them below what other Airbnbs in the areas are and what the most hotel rooms are for the night, not counting what the cleaning fee I have to put on there. But because of that, I get a lot of small families because it has a kitchenette. It'll sleep 4 to 8 if the tables convert to beds and all that kind of stuff. And so I'm hitting a very niche market there, but it's working very well. And I'm setting the proper expectation that this isn't the Ritz. This is an RV trailer, but that's why I get good reviews for what the unit is and the cost margin to the end guest. Let's see, some of the things I do. When I first started up, I was doing the cleaning myself. There's a lot of time involved with that. And if you've got it, if this is going to be your full-time gig, fantastic. You'll get a higher profit margin. But I'm approaching this more on the investment side, and I've got other things that I'm doing. So I ended up hiring a couple there that live in the park that take care of the different tanks on the trailers that need to be flushed out regularly. And also they collect all the laundry and lay out new laundry and they take care of doing the laundry in the laundromat there at the RV park. And then I have another lady that comes in and does a deep clean and makes all the beds and all that kind of stuff. So again, I would get a higher profit margin with that if I was doing all that work myself, but it's the whole thing of time velocity, and I still make money on it. Admittedly, if someone comes in on a one-night stay, which you really don't want to, most people don't, because your cost per night goes up because I've added on cleaning fee in there. But if someone does do an overnight stay, especially during the week, during a slow week, I tend to lose money on those, $10-15 with what I'm paying for my cleaning fee or my cleaning people. But as long as it's a 2-night or more stay, then I'm at least making some money on it. And most of my stays, honestly, are 4 days to a week, and so I make a decent profit margin there. So I have 3 trailers, and what has been happening over the last year and a half, because there is such a strain on rental units in this county, is I keep having people come in through these booking systems and then beg me to go long-term, month to month, literally begging me to stay in these trailers. And then as part of all this, I ended up picking up an older 5th wheel trailer. It's much bigger, much more spacious, for my daughter to live in when she got married, because her and her husband thought they were going to be here for 6 months. Every place wanted a 1-year lease. And so I got them that, so I had some place to live for those 6 months. And after those 6 months, I decided to stay an extra year before he was going on to university to finish up his master's. And they got themselves a regular townhouse. And then I happened to have people living in one of my other trailers that had gone month to month. Way too many people living there with their kids, in my mind. And so they were happy to move over to the 5th wheel, and the 5th wheel has become a long-term unit. And the family I have in there right now actually are doing a lease to own, because that's an older trailer that it's doing more and more repairs on it. Come May, it's theirs. I'm be glad to get rid of it. I'll get something else. Again, the age of the unit, it's very much a concern for me from a profitability standpoint. Then I also have another system that's tied into my Guestly for hosts that incorporates directly in, called Wheelhouse. Wheelhouse does dynamic pricing, so that it'll adjust the price per night depending on what day of the week it is and what activities are going on in the area. Around here in October, there's a marathon, which is a qualifying marathon to get into the Boston Marathon. There's the Huntsman Senior Games, Old People Olympics. Yeah, hey, it's been here for years, and they love it. In fact, the first month I had my second trailer, I took it over in October. My first reservation was a 60-plus softball team, 5 guys in there. And shockingly enough, they complained that the beds in the bunk beds made for kids weren't soft enough and recommended I get memory foam. Not doing that. The unit is what the unit is. You rented it. Anyway, short-term rentals is a good way to get into doing into real estate, and the way I'm doing it keeps my capital investment very low. I could go the route of getting an actual apartment, townhouse, dealing with the fee, or going to the next town, either direction, and where they don't have those fees, and I could just do it. They'd be much more resilient over time. And from what I understand, people actually make a lot more money with the short-term rentals than they do over a regular month-to-month. But and I eventually will make that transition, but not for short-term rentals. I want to eventually get into apartments and small single-family homes for long-term renters, because I just think that's a better long-term play for the economic basis. Um, I'll link up some of the sites that I'm using down below. I don't have, it's not, they're not affiliate links. It's just who I'm using. I think it's good information. I always share it out. If you have any questions, please feel free to leave a comment below with a question, and I'll answer anything I can for you. So you know, between my 3 units, after expenses, my actual income is generally around $1,500 to $2,000 a month, positive cash flow. So it has absolutely been worth it to me. Anyway,